yeah, definitely fantastic. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. It's game number 1 here at the Team YCS. We're at Table C. I love being able to see the table scores here on the side, so you're able to see what's going on the rest of the match. Everyone's sitting at 0-0, and now it looks like, I don't know who's going first. They're both drawing their opening hands extremely slowly. So I don't know why that just triggered me, but that was like a pet peeve. Like, draw your cards a little faster. Come on, both of them were they were at the exact same slow, one card at a time pace. But it looks like Evan is starting things off, which is definitely good for Labrynth.
It looks like he has Ariana, which, as we saw earlier when we featured Labrynth, really is, if you get to go first, probably the single card you'd want to see more often than not, I think, on average. Because it just ensures that you get access to whatever you need, whether it's a Labrynth monster or, of course, a Labrynth trap card.
Yep, looks like he's going to use a lady. This was a huge card for the Labrynth team to get. Definitely an easy way to summon a monster hand. Gets a trap that you're able to use. Definitely fantastic. You don't have to just completely rely on Welcome Labrynth. But they also got the big addition of Big Welcome Labrynth in Photon Hypernova. Let you summon a Labrynth monster, but that graveyard effect is just incredible. You're able to just disrupt your opponent and get a Labrynth monster from your deck. Really one of the strongest cards for the strategy. But Shoot Ping leaving off the Pot of Prosperity. Fantastic card in the Kashtira theme.
So in general, just banishing cards can be advantageous. Obviously, it banishes face down. This deck actually gets to incorporate a handful of cards in the extra deck that actually synergize well with this effect, specifically Infinitrack Goliath.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorites.
It's not often you see interactions like that come around, where a card has an entirely other use in its inherent strategy, actually have this really interesting interaction in this particular strategy, the Kashtira strategy.
Certainly is. Oh, we see Evenly Matched coming down. 2 copies of Evenly Matched. You see Evan kind of like, wait, he's main decking Evenly Matched? Oh no, that's not good. That card is definitely good against Labrynth here. So he's going to go ahead and grab the main deck Evenly Matched. That is, I like that. I think I like main decking Evenly Matched. I mean, everyone's main decking Book of Eclipse. Why not main deck the best going second cards you possibly can?
It's also a card that we're just going to see popular in the Labrynth strategy because it just is a normal trap card itself. So I think those decks are actually just by default playing 3 copies to give them a little bit of leverage when trying to go second game 1. So we're actually going to see that card popular in the first game of a lot of decks.
It looks like Big Welcome Labrynth is being activated here from Evan.
Looks like he's thinking about whether or not he wants to chain his Lady Labrynth.
He knows that Evenly Matched is awaiting him, so decides not to.
It depends on, there's a few reasons. I mean, you might choose to do it to just filter a card out of your deck that you no longer want to draw. In addition to that, it could be the card that you leave on the field. Now, let's say potentially you activate a card like Dimensional Barrier, you could actually search out a card that you remain set on the turn to the turn that follows. So it might not seem intuitive to actually activate Lady Labrynth there, but it's not impossible that you actually would activate it at some point this turn.
Makes sense, makes sense.
Now granted, the fact that he just returned it to his hand with the one off of the Big Welcome Labrynth, probably less likely that that would happen.
Ending Memphis.
Alright, Shoot Ping
Battle.
going to end his battle phase, enter battle phase, end of battle phase, Evenly Matched. Now, what is Evan going to keep? I imagine maybe the Lady, or maybe one of the face down Speller Traps, but.
Over here? Okay.
Yeah, it looks like he is going to keep that Spell and Trap card. He already has that other Lady in his hand, so he won't have to worry about that.
Going to main phase 2. Or still in the battle. Yeah. Sure.
Yep, here comes that Lady.
Double check really quick.
Lady, just a fantastic card.
Sure. So main phase 2. Sure.
So the fact that he had the actual Big Welcome Labrynth makes it such that utilizing the effect earlier just to search a card out of your deck probably wasn't likely, because here, if he actually just has another trap card, he will be able to resolve the effect on this one, and that will actually stick.
Yeah, it's just free disruption in the graveyard as well. Fantastic card out of Photon Hypernova. That is Bill Welcome Labrynth.
Granted, he revealed 2 of them, but it would have been interesting if he potentially had another copy of Evenly Matched, because that was still in battle phase.
That would be funny.
I'm not sure it comes up that often, but I don't believe Evenly Matched is once per turn.
I'm unsure.
I'll activate
And
the-
now Rise Heart.
So I pay cost
is
banish a
going-
casting card from my deck. And
Looks like
then
Evan might not be
you
too
banish
familiar with the
top 3
Kashtira
cards from
strategy.
your
That's
deck
going to be
face
rough
down,
going
and
into
then
the rest of this
shuffle your
tournament.
Perhaps he's played against other strategies those opening rounds.
You have set cards.
I mean, that's what you get. You get the benefit when you play Labrynth. Like, you're playing a trap deck, so you're able to use your traps to control the game state. You can kind of deal with things even if you don't know what you're playing against as well. Though it's definitely helpful to always have as much information as possible.
Eventually, there will be a decision point where it might seem 50-50,
So any
where
response?
full knowledge of the matchup would make it
So
much
you
more
banish the
obvious.
top
Very true.
Face down.
Yep, banishes the top 3 face down.
And then this becomes 7.
Rise Heart is now level 7.
Activate.
Banish the Unicorn from his deck, and now he's going to activate Kashtira Birth, which will let him normal summon a level 7 monster. Oh, no, he's already normal summoned, so now he's going to use the effect of special from the banished or graveyard and grabs that Unicorn that he banished with the Rise Heart.
The unicorn effect.
We can start to see just that so many combinations of hands ultimately result in more or less the same field, which is one of the big strengths of Kashtira.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Shuping's deck, because, I mean, like, if you get hit with an evenly match,
So
that means
the
you're behind on
target
cards
is
already. You lost so much. And now that he's
special
doing
summon
his
a
full
monster
Kashtira
from
combo
my
after that,
deck
it's going to be
different
tough to come back.
And if this card get banished, I
But we
add
still
a
know Evan
fabulous
has one face down
Kashtira
spell or
card
trap
from my
card that could
back
help
deck.
him in this.
It's also the card that he elected to keep with evenly matched,
Anything
so
else
we
from
have to assume it's a pretty powerful card. I would imagine if it was a card like Skill Drain or Goza Match, Rivalry at Warlords, one of those type of cards, it probably would have already been activated. So I'm really curious to see what it is. I also would rule out a card like Dimensional Bear, because I think he would have just activated that earlier and then potentially saved another card off of the evenly matched. So I think we can potentially rule that one out as well.
Targeting Rise Heart.
And it has to be a different attribute?
Yeah.
That's fine.
So he's going to target Rise Heart to summon.
Probably Fenrir.
Yep.
On resolution?
I think we'll finally
Alright.
find out what it is.
Oh, it's
Oh, wait.
Waybridge! It's Waybridge! Awesome! This card is so cool. It's Secret Ratifold on Hybernova. I love this card. So this trap is insane. Well, it's not, yeah, I love it. So if your opponent controls 2 or more monsters, it doesn't matter how many monsters you can control. They just have 2 or more monsters. They have to banish down to 1. And now he's going to be able to activate the effect of Lady to set a trap card. I love Waybridge.
And this will return back the effect in which it cannot be targeted or destroyed.
3 cards in hand, right?
Correct.
Yeah, it's really awesome to see not only the Labrynth cards get actual Labrynth cards in Photon Hypernova, but there are, in addition to that, normal trap cards that fit so well into the strategy. So it's really awesome to see the additional components that can be incorporated into your deck.
Yeah, Waybridge is a really cool one. I
So
couldn't see what he said.
send
Said pretty
until
quick.
I have 1, right?
Yeah, so you're only going to have 1. Not going to be able to do any. He had 3 level 7s. Now he's only going to have 1 level 7. This is a huge Waybridge here.
This is fairly important too, because now that he has a set card again, not that he wouldn't have activated Lady, but Fenrir cannot banish the Lady
Anything
due to the fact
else?
that there's a set spell and trap card.
Search?
Seeing as how Lady Labrynth activated its normal effect.
Very true. Now Fenrir's effect is going to activate to add Scareclaw Kashtira.
It's really nice that this deck has to play some sort of singleton additional extenders. Some decks elected to play Tier Elements Kashtira. Of course, this deck so far electing to run the Scareclaw Kashtira, enabling you after a situation like this where you've been stymied in the midst of your plays to have an additional level 7 extender, which is potentially why you just like the adventure packet so much in this deck, adding that level 7 earlier in the turn.
Yep. Yeah, when I was playing Laos before, yeah, the Scareclaw Kashtira and Tiamat's Kashtira came out, so I was like, oh, another level 7. But now it's just so easy, as we're seeing here, to get access to that. Now, yeah, Waybridge sends them to the graveyard, so instead of banishing them, that means he's going to be able to banish them from the graveyards to summon that Scareclaw Kashtira. But I definitely think it is a huge advantage of that Kashtira have those options available to them.
I think you were thinking of potentially how Big Bang works.
I was just thinking evenly matched. Oh, yeah, Big Bang also does that same kind of thing. But, yeah, I'd evenly matched on the mind, but... It's definitely less impactful since it's into the graveyard, but still a huge swing. Because look, what this is now, Evan just has to deal with a Fenrir as opposed to a Shangri-Ira or an Arise Heart. This is fantastic.
Taking a read, I don't think the spell effect of Kashtira Birth will really matter here. So at least on this particular turn, Evan is free to play without having to worry too much about that.
Yeah, he's just going to try and attack over this Fenrir, so the Fenrir effect won't activate to banish anything if he decides to use a monster effect. But, you know, he only has 2 cards, so not a lot. It is Ariana. That's going to grab a Labrynth card.
So the beauty here is, you know, on the opening turn, if you need Lady Labrynth, obviously you can search Lady Labrynth, but now that he's already started to accumulate some resources, he can now start searching out of his deck the perfect trap card.
It's a trap.
It looks like Welcome Labrynth.
Yep. That is indeed Welcome Labrynth. Labrynth deck is strong. High impact traps at key times can be huge. Just where the Kashtira deck really shines is, you know, it's making a huge combo turn 1, and Shangri-La, like, it's going into these other combo decks. Like, if you draw all monsters against me, you're not going to be able to do anything, but when your whole deck is trap cards, you really don't have to worry about drawing all monsters that often, and having these interactive trap cards can be really good against the Kashtira deck, because even though it's so strong and so powerful, putting one of them face down on the field can really slow the turn down. But Shuping does have one of those tools at Kashtira's that they have in their arsenal with Birth that'll help them play into one of these trap strategies. So I would think that Evan's going to be looking to try and get that Birth off the field, potentially, if he has that option.
Looks like here he's flipped. Looks like a Welcome Labrynth. It's sometimes hard to tell the difference between Welcome and Big Welcome Labrynth, but it looks like he's activated one of the Labrynth cards, and now he's utilizing his Lady Labrynth to set a compulsory evacuation device. I will say there is, and granted, one evenly matched is already in the graveyard, one is at the bottom of his deck, but having Kashtira Birth on the field also gives you that reassurance that you don't have to worry about your opponent potentially having the 3rd evenly matched.
That's true.
And if they do, they can't use it quite as effectively.
Certainly, at least they have to set it and wait. It looks like he's going to summon the lovely lady, lovely Labrynth of the Silver Castle.
And now there'll be no monster effects in response to normal trap cards.
Activate Burst.
So a special summon?
Yeah. Graveyard or banish. That's all.
All right, let's see if he probably grabs Fenrir here. Yep, does.
And if I activate a spell or effect, you can banish cards from where?
Your graveyard.
From my graveyard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything on summon?
Nothing on summon.
Further search?
All right, so Fenrir's effect is going to activate and resolve, so Shuping is going to be able to add a Kashtira monster from the deck to the hand. Gets Rise Heart, makes sense.
Anything?
You're okay. You can continue.
He's taking a quick look of his extra deck after a Pot of Prosperity. You know, his options are going to be a little bit lower than they might otherwise have been.
Very true. Yeah, sometimes you just have to give up a little bit just to make sure you're able to play. Oh, that's why he's looking. No, he was counting. He was making sure he had enough for the next one. Okay. The first pot is usually pretty easy. You usually have 6, like you're guaranteed I'm going after. But the second one, the next 3 when you're going down to 9, a little rough. But if there is a deck that is okay with that, it would be Kashtira, because they really need a couple cards in their extra deck to really utilize.
Plus, Evan's not playing Unicorn himself, and he's obviously not going to be playing the Mind Hacker, so as a result, there are some sort of free banishes. Some of the doubles that Shuping is deciding to run, which many Kashtira decks are incorporating this weekend in order to play around cards that target the extra deck. So it looks like here for the first time we're seeing an adventure card, obviously not the most impactful one with Illegal Light, and then there's Water Enchantress, which on the other hand is much more impactful. But this will reveal to Evan regardless that Shuping is on the adventure package, something that I'm not sure he saw off the original Prod Prosperity at the beginning of the game.
I definitely think this is the first time we are seeing those adventure cards.
Which is a big deal in the sense that if this game were to end without them ever being activated, knowing that your opponent has access to Draco Pack could change some of Evan's side decking choices heading into game 2 or 3.
Activate.
All right, so Shuping is going to activate Scareclaw Kashtira.
How do you?
So yeah, you summon this by banishing either a Scareclaw or Kashtira card from your hand or graveyard.
That's fine.
Gonna banish Unicorn.
Summon. Activate.
Declaring.
What do you think he's declaring, Shuping? I would be mad if someone asked me, what are you declaring? But he didn't say it right away. But yeah, exceeds monsters. That's Dimension Barrier. For the rest of the turn, the exceeds monsters' effects are negated, and they cannot be summoned.
Which is obviously incredibly impactful against a strategy that utilizes them exclusively.
No more.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, burst. Yeah, go. It's such a spell trap. All spells.
It's Ogre that searches the trap.
This is bizarre. That oh yeah, I don't know. Never mind. Unicorn effect is going to use its effect probably.
Correct.
Oh, nope. Just gonna overlay. Oh, never mind. He can't overlay because of the Dimension Barrier, so he's going to send them all to Graveyard for Blackluster, Soldier of Chaos. Yes! I was like, there's only one monster he could be link summoning for with sending 3 monsters to the graveyard, and that's Blackluster, Soldier of Chaos. This card is awesome, and I'm so glad I get to see it come out in a feature match.
This is one of those cards that is very rarely in the back of your mind, but should probably be there more often than it is. Because in a situation like this where your opponent's activated Dimensional Barrier, this card is incredibly impactful.
Certainly is.
Ooh, but here we see a copy of Skill Drain.
No! All the awesome effects that Blackluster, Soldier of Chaos had are all gone now.
In addition to the bonus effects.
Yeah, he gets the bonus for being level 7s used. So now it's just a big monster, but not bad.
On declaration, activate.
Nope, still has that big welcome Labrynth to be able to return the Blackluster, Soldier of Chaos.
Bounce it back, right?
And this is the second effect of Big Welcome Labrynth. Unfortunately for Labrynth players, you can't activate both of these effects on the same turn, but you can banish it from your graveyard and then target either a fiend or a monster that you control, level 8 or higher. But if you control a large monster, you can actually target one of your opponent's monsters and return it to your hand. So in some cases, it can just enable the effects of the Labrynth monsters that require a monster to be moved from the field via a normal trap card. In this case, you're actually able to utilize it against your opponent's monsters because you can control some of the large Labrynth monsters like Lady Labrynth and Lovely Labrynth.
May I use the grave effect? Yes.
I'm just happy I got to see Blackluster, Soldier of Chaos. I love that card. It's a cool one.
Moving to Memphis 2? Sure.
But Shuping definitely having a rough go at it in this game. This game started with him using evenly matched, right? And just still to be Evan getting evenly matched and be able to recover like this is fantastic. Showing he knows his deck in and out. So now Right's being activated and it's going to summon an adventure token. And plays Fateful Adventure from the deck to the field.
Yeah, probably go back.
I think Evan just asked, because it's an interesting interaction, if whether or not Lady Labrynth can activate after the banish of Big Welcome Labrynth from the graveyard, which they were able to do.
Fuck to search.
Makes sense. And now Faithful is going to be able to add Draco back. Now they summon the Griffin Rider. Oh, he's going to go for Legal Knight. Oh, he had the Griffin Rider already. He's using the effective search. Okay.
It's really interesting to see Shuping trying to push through Dimensional Barrier. He's really had some pretty big efforts there. I wonder if he can go into Blackluster Soldier again.
That would be funny. Here comes the Legal Knight. Now, how does he navigate this? Good match, though. Back and forth.
I'll go activate Draco back, target skill gem.
Oh, it's any card?
Yeah.
No response.
Thinking here, yeah, no more response.
Okay.
And then unrest. Skill drain and welcome.
So the skill drain back to the hand thanks to Draco back.
Activate in Legal Knight, thinking about the targets.
So he's going to give a Legal Knight and return 2 cards on opponent's field
And
to the
then give
hand.
This guy to you.
And then it bounces the card to the
Yeah.
target of the hand. Okay.
We'll target does,
Fortunately, due to
welcome
skill drain, he
summon-
can't do the
where does
interaction where he
welcome
just
summon?
bounces it back to his own hand with Draco back, but
From
it is what it is. It is a way of at
Just
least
an
dealing with skill drain, and now he has to sort of remove 2 other problem cards from Evan's side of the field.
Yeah, it's cool. This is really just showing another positive of the Adventure Engine. He has the negate here with the Griffin Rider, which can stop spell trap monster effects. But he also gets the Draco back in the Illegal Knight. That's 3 bounces. Like that's a good board disruption. I really like the Adventure package right now, while the format's still developing and figuring things out.
This is already mean
So he
phase
chooses
2,
to put
I
back
will
one of the
end
back
mean phase
rows.
2, epic.
Go ahead, drop a turn.
And that's it. It's got a Griffin Rider, a Draco back,
What are the stats on the token?
2,000.
2K, 2K.
With at least 1 protection.
Yeah, Evan not familiar with any of the cards in Shuping's deck. It's a shock, but when you're playing a lot of traps, maybe you don't really need to know. You just have to interrupt and disrupt when you need to.
Perhaps he's played a lot of
And this
tier
is a
element
quick,
mirror matches recently.
That could be the case.
Monster fan base sword battle, is that right?
Well, he is familiar with this part of the effect.
They're just, well, I can bounce back a card every
Right.
turn.
For some reason, I thought that it's.
No, Faithful says that. That Faithful Adventure says that, yeah.
Oh, that's.
Shuping's a very honorable duelist here, showing him that it's actually the Fateful Adventure that does the effect that he imagined that Draco back enabled.
I had a Marincess player that was not so honest once. I didn't know that it got all the effects from the field spell, so I was like, oh, does this do it? He's like, no, no, no. But when he had Battle Ocean up, it made it much. This was before all the new Marincess cards came out. It was like the first wave, and I was like, oh, okay, you got me this time with your Marincess Battle Ocean. But it looks like he's going to tribute off the Illegal Knight here for the lovely Labrynth.
Enter battle. Attack.
29.
29.
It's a big, it has a lot of attack there. Going to take down the Griffin Rider. 2,900 attack is plenty to destroy it by battle.
Both Lovely and Lady Labrynth deceptively have a lot of attack points. So if you come out of the gates really slow and your opponent has one of those opening hands where they open Ariana and then in addition to that have one of the Labrynth cards themselves, they can very quickly put 9,000 damage plus on the board by having these big 3,000 attackers. So you have to be really careful. What might seem like a rather passive control deck does have that really quick output if you allow it to get to that point.
I mean, yeah, this interaction, once you're in this point, is so cool for Labrynth because you're summoning monsters from your decks, you're setting defensive traps, you don't even have to draw them. Like, this is just, it's a control deck, and once you get in control, it's hard to get out of. And with Red Reboot not being around anymore, it's just, it can do whatever it wants.
And I just love being able to bounce with big Welcome Labrynth, the Ariana back to your hand, and then every single turn you get to normal summon that, and then when you're bouncing these cards back to your hand with a normal trap card effect, that starts to trigger all of your other
so this cannot
Lady
be activated,
Labrynth
that
and
means
Lovely
this
Labrynth
can
effects if
can also
necessary.
be used.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Okay, so that will also be in the deck.
There's all the utility in this deck. It's very toolboxy. You're able to do a lot with the little cards you have. I mean, that's the best thing is with these kind of decks is maximizing with minimal usage. High impact traps.
Yeah, nowadays for trap-heavy and trap-centric decks to succeed, they really need to cover a lot of bases. They can't be so one-dimensional. They need to be able to destroy cards. They need to be able to stymie the opponent potentially with continuous trap cards, which is that can incorporate. And then in addition to that, the deck needs to find a way to win. Because sometimes I feel like the Eldritch strategy from years prior had a difficult time winning.
Sometimes, yeah, for sure. It'd take at least one Eldritch attack at a time, or you have to overlay from maybe a Gustav Max and go through the trains or everything. But it's definitely the Labrynth strategy does seem to fill all the places you need to have big monsters. They were refilling your back row all at the same time, and yeah, we see Evan setting 5 cards to his spell and trap card zone.
And this is a game where Shuping not only got a Draco back effect, but in addition to that, an evenly matched.
It's just crazy. If you're sleeping on Labrynth, you might want to wake up. Otherwise, you're going to probably end up with a nightmare.
It's interesting. The decision point the previous turn about attacking the Wandering Griffin or actually just attacking the token twice so that it would go to the graveyard and then Draco back would be off the field. Because Shuping does at least get to start this turn with 1 bounce off the Draco back. Now granted, there are 5 spell and trap cards on Evan's side of the field, so the odds that one of them are that impactful going back to the hand and stymieing his entire play and his entire turn is not super likely. Oh, this works too. Yeah, having Compulsory Evacuation Device is the best of both worlds. Because there is risk of leaving a level 7 on the field with one of the Wandering Griffin Riders. But this is just the best of both worlds.
So, Memphis? Sure.
Oh, we can check out the table score update. It looks like Pac won at table A. He won game 1. So that's awesome for them. The first game of the first match was concluded.
I don't want to spoil it, but I know that Pack and Dakota are playing a deck that we have yet to see this weekend, so it would be interesting to get over there.
There's a lot of that. A lot of decks we've yet to see. I love this format.
And not respond to monster effects, is that right?
Even this match, we see cards like Waybridge, which we had yet to see this weekend, the Adventure Package in general, which we had yet to see this weekend. So even seeing these actual deck strategies, it's really exciting to see the inner workings of some of the decision-making that went into these deck choices as a whole, but also just the actual card choices. Here we see, Dark Ruler No More, which I don't think we've actually seen yet this weekend.
Not really. It's not. This also isn't like the greatest deck to be used against, but it does something. Like you're at least stopping them from continuing to set their traps, and it helps a little bit of the interactions. But Dark, it's cool. You see Shuping really focused on. Everyone else may be focused on making their main decks good for game one. He was ready to go second. Just in game number one, I'm ready to have Dark Ruler No More evenly matched. It's funny because we've seen him do that in a feature match with Drytron months ago now, and it was just so impactful when you have those two cards in tandem against like one of those like synchro punk combo decks with Baron and all sorts of monsters on the board. But while not as useful in this matchup, definitely going to help him out, maybe trying to fight back into this game with this Fenrir coming down, and now he's going to use Fenrir's effect. We know Evan has a Dogmatic Punishment for sure, I think I saw him set that last turn with Lady.
That's an incredibly impactful normal trap card, which some strategies are actually not incorporating. It doesn't line up super well against the Kashtira strategy because it reveals what you're playing. If you were to have an extra deck that would be more reminiscent of maybe an actual Kashtira deck or a Tri-Brigade deck or some other type of strategy, it wouldn't be obvious when your opponent uses Mindhacker what you're playing. But by having an extra deck that is very clearly geared towards utilizing Dogmatic Punishment, it becomes obvious what you're actually running. And then there's fear that your opponent actually starts to lock out your spell and trap card zones as opposed to your monster zones. Could you imagine only being able to set 1 or 2 trap cards?
Or none.
Or none, yeah. Well, certainly.
Yeah, but one or two is rough. Like, it's going to be tough to get anywhere. So, yeah, that's definitely... I think you were talking about that with Herman earlier. He has, like, his extra deck where it's like a... you could look at it and maybe not know what he's playing.
It actually looks like Pack just took a second game there on table A, and Dakota has taken a game on table B.
Oh, things are looking good for the red side. Team honorary members.
Shuping here is utilizing his Water Enchantress. You know, in the games that go longer, Water Enchantress every single turn, even if you no longer have access to Draco back, at least enables you to put a 2000 attack monster on the field. In addition to that, over the long run, because this deck's playing both Illegal Knight and Wandering Griffin, you almost always have one of those in the deck. So I think it adds that really good long-term grind when this deck really needs to do it.
Yeah, certainly. And it looks like he does have another copy of Right. Someone's back that token. Already has the Faithful, and now Draco back is already gone. Griffin's gone. Illegal Knight's in the graveyard. Does he have a way to put them back into the deck? I don't think so.
I'm really curious what Shuping's avenue here is. He's making a lot of plays these last couple of turns, and it was evident when he went into the Blackluster Soldier that he felt, okay, this is my chance. This is my one opportunity to really turn the tide of the game. But now he knows that Evan has Skill Drain set. He can't deal damage this turn because of Dark Ruler, so it's not like he's suddenly going to put 7,000 damage on the field. I'm really curious what his avenue here is to regain control, because honestly, once Labrynth players usually get to this point of the game, it's really, really difficult.
Ooh, Terrors of the Overroot. I get them mixed up. It is Underroot. That's right. Terrors of the Underroot. This card's cool. So you take a card that's useful on your opponent's field, and then you take one that's useless in their graveyard, and you swap them.
Yes.
I really liked it. I've seen it swap with, like, using a Fusion Destiny and swapping with, like, a Fusion Destiny after the Destroyer's gone.
He actually swapped it with an Evenly Matched, which isn't obviously completely dead.
Yeah, I mean, does he not have worse cards? I mean, the Kashtira deck doesn't have a lot of dead cards, really, so maybe that's just the best of the worst options.
I don't know the exact quantity of cards. He's done at least 9 off of Pot of Prosperity. I imagine he still has enough for at least one activation, so the Prosperity is probably not an option. I guess Evenly maybe is the best option, but it is something you need to know now.
Maybe he's assuming there won't be another end of the battle phase. The game will end before the next end of the battle phase.
What it's worth, Evan's been able to navigate this previous turn without ever having to use his own skill drain. So now he's going to be able to go onto his turn with both Lady Labrynth and Lovely Labrynth on the field, which, you know, that is the best of both worlds. You still have skill drain, it's protected, wasn't bounced back by anything, and now you get to utilize your Lady and Lovely Labrynth to accumulate even more card advantage.
Sets a trap from the graveyard, thanks to the Lovely Lady.
Under battle. Attack the token.
Clearing the board.
Main phase 2. Or attempt to go down.
Yeah.
All right, now Shuping drawing for turn. He does have that evenly matched that his opponent gave him set. I mean, it would be 4 cards. How many deals? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you'd have to get rid of 2. That's still like a Twin Twisters almost.
I'm curious if Shuping could have actually used it during his
battle phase?
his opponent's battle phase the previous turn, because Evan actually used the lovely Labrynth to set a trap
That is true.
in main phase 1.
Fuck.
That would have been an interesting interaction.
All right, so it looks like Enchantress is going to grab a 3rd copy of Rite of Ramas here from Shuping's deck.
Special.
Specials, Kashtira Unicorn, since he controls no monsters.
Fuck to search.
I imagine this will prompt probably skill drain and then potentially a normal trap so that he can then activate Lady Labrynth. It really kind of depends on what the other 3 back row are.
Fuck. You got it? Alright, cool. I'm still playing. Okay. No.
Okay, yeah, this is exactly what I mentioned. Now he's going to activate the D barrier that he set the previous turn off of the lovely Labrynth, and then he's now going to be activating Lady Labrynth here as Chainlink, I guess, 4, enabling him to set a trap from his deck, and then Skill Drain will resolve, but he will have already at least got a trap out of his deck for that additional card advantage. It looks like it was a Dogmatic Punishment. I couldn't tell fully. He flipped it in a way that made it difficult. But that was a very good use of Chainlinks.
Yeah, when you have Lovely Lady or Lovely Labrynth and Lady Labrynth on the field together, you're getting the trap. You're using the traps that have already stopped your opponent's previous turn, and you're getting new traps to continue to stop. It's really cool in tandem.
It's very different, but it does remind me of the Flawondery strategy that gets to use Ryza multiple turns to basically just activate Dimension Shifter every turn of the entire game.
Oh, I do like that.
Because this deck is essentially, at least at this point, utilizing Dimensional Barrier every turn of the game.
Which is a really good strategy, especially against also like Kashtira. You can see it's tough to do without Xyz monsters. Branded Despia, good luck without fusions.
And Shuping came prepared with Black Luster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos.
It's a good card, incredible card. If you want to know where you can get your hands on it, you can find Magnificent Mavens at your OTS store somewhere out there. Make sure you get your hands on it.
Or you can chase one of its many high rarity versions. There's
But
an
now
ultimate
easily
rare.
accessible.
It is easily accessible. The ultimate rare, though, looks amazing.
It does. I do love the ultimate. The Ghost Rare is also pretty cool. It's tough. It's tough when that's the age-old question. Ultimate rare, Ghost Rare. Which one do I want to play with? Collector rare, maybe. Pot of Extravagance coming down here for Evan.
For me, it's ultimate rare almost 100% of the time.
You love ultimates, yeah? Did you like the Collector Rare Card Trooper? I know you're a big fan of Card Trooper.
I still need to get one. I actually have a Card Trooper that's misprinted and has a Destiny Hero malicious embedded
okay. I've seen one
on
of
it.
those.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the Card Trooper of choice that I have. However, the Collector's Rare looks amazing.
You get the Collector ones for the Troop Dupe deck.
Yes.
You have your Ultimate Machine Duplications and your Collector Card Troopers.
So we see here Kashtira Birth actually getting to resolve and banish 3 cards from his graveyard because he used a spell card with Pot of Extravagance.
Actually meaningful in this matchup as we see him resetting those trap cards.
Yep.
Not so much now that skill drains up, but still something. You might as well maximize all your plays.
As we saw, Shuping was able to remove a skill drain from the field at least once. We know that it's probably not going to happen again since Dracoback's now in the graveyard, but it's not inconceivable. So it's definitely worth Shuping playing it out in its entirety by actually going through the banishing because it is part of the effect. Though I will say, there is some value in knowing that there's no possible way for you dealing with skill drain and not using that effect so your opponent's unaware of that interaction.
Yeah, but here we go. Shuping activating that evenly match that the Terrors of Underroot gave him. So Evan having to pick down to 3 cards. 1, 2, and then he's going to keep up the Lady and the card, a couple other cards. I think you said that one might be Dogmatic of Punishment. So yeah, maybe it wasn't, not the craziest evenly matched, but it certainly wasn't a useless card like you usually want to grab with Underroot.
In the grand scheme of things, maybe a card like Dark Ruler no more could have been an option. I think this is the first time we've seen Shuping play Pressured Planet.
Yep, Pressure Planet Race Oath. Shooting is left-handed, so don't get confused that it is in the field spell zone.
And then
That actually is a way of dealing with skill drain. Theoretically, if he's able to at least get...
If he has like another one. I think you banished it face down from the evenly, but he could potentially have another skill drain laying in the weights. But oh yeah, but the Pressured Planet being able to
Destroy.
because you can still trigger Shangri-Ira even though its effect is negated. I think that's a key part of all these strategies, all these field spells, that there's a way to trigger the destruction effect and being able to capitalize on that destruction effect. Like, people talk about the Primeval Planet Peril Rhino, like, that destruction effect is huge, being able to just destroy a card during your opponent's turn, and Race-Off is definitely along those same lines. The thing that gets me about this card is the attack boost. It's so much.
It's so much.
It's the entire field, and all your monsters gain 100 attack and defense for the different attributes.
Next year, please.
That card could play a huge role if Shuping is able to establish a big board, but it looks like we're actually going to see this game come to an end due to the results on the other two tables.
Oh, Cody won.
I think if this game played out longer, Evan would have eventually won.
I agree. Yeah, I think it was his game to win.